Yo, what is up, guys? It's Travis, aka Travesty. Usually I don't do back-to-back videos day to day, but I did make a mistake in my previous video. That video was on my crystal presets, and I don't think I would change my crystal presets, but I will change is this misconception that I had, which was that your total AP is the only thing that factors in to the DR check. Actually, both AP and human damage factor into your DR check. The only thing is, if you fail the DR check, then your human damage is not accounted for. So, as shown here, let's say you have 716 AP and you have 48 human damage. Your total PvP AP technically breaks this DR, right? 716 plus 48 is what? Let's say 720. 764. So you're supposed to pass the DR breakpoint, but given the formula, which is AP plus human damage minus DR, minus your AP times 5%, you actually fail this DR check because the AP times 5% is 35.8. So your total AP and your human damage have to be 35.8, a little more, or not 35.8 more, but yeah, 35.8 more than your opponent's DR. So what that means, in general, is that the human damage is useless in this case, where you don't pass the DR check. Now, that being said, if you do pass the DR check, let's say you had 70 human damage. Once you pass the DR check, then you're a pretty good thing because you pass the DR check. Now your 70 human damage is being accounted for. So your 786 PvP AP, all of that is being counted towards it. But as soon as you fail that DR check, right? This 69 human damage that you have in your crystals is not being factored into the PvP damage equation. So all the crystals that you have to build up to the 69 human damage, and I think the max you can build with crystals is 56, plus or minus some species damage, which add up to 108. But that being said, you're wasting a lot of crystals on human damage that don't pass this DR check. And again, this is like just an example where an opponent's CR is 750. Let's kind of bring this full circle to what Garmoth shows and how we can use this to calculate some things. So let's say I wanted to calculate my my PvP accuracy set versus like a DR build. So let's say we're fighting somebody with the DR set, and we could add buffs, but for now we're not going to add any buffs. So we're just going to say, okay, we have my full AP accuracy build versus a full AP DR build. All right, so my total AP is 654. So this 654 is PvP AP. So you got to understand that the total AP is actually 620 plus 34, and that's how you get 654. So in the PvP damage calculator, I'm doing 620, then I'm doing 34 human damage, right? Because I got 34 human damage here, versus this DR, which is 642 DR, okay? As you can see here, I'm failing the DR check just based on these stats, right? Where this build here, which is 716 PvP, is DR checking me. Essentially, all the human damage crystals that I have in my build here, which in this case, I'm using 2 red spirit. So I'm losing out on the 6 human damage here and losing out on a little bit of human damage here. And then also you have your base human damage from your weapons that are like plus 18 damage to all species, that's 18 human damage, plus 10 damage to all species, that's 10 human damage. So what you can see here is I'm failing the DR check. So if I put any crystals into human damage at this point, I would need at least 20 more human damage in order to break this DR check and then have my human damage factored in. So let's go ahead and add buffs to this equation. So let's say you're running a tanky build for evasion, and then the DR counterpart is also running their tanky build. What does that change? So now my total AP is 659. My total human damage is 45 because the Harmony Drought is 11 more human damage. But then this guy's DR is now 706. What does that mean? That means I fail the DR check once again, but now I need even more human damage in order to break the DR checkpoint. I would need 80 human damage in order to break this DR check. And let's say I can't get 80 human damage without sacrificing, a lot of my crystals for tankiness, a lot of things that I need in my evasion build to make it work. If that's the case, might as well just build raw AP, because even if I don't hit this 695 or 694 raw AP amount, all the AP that I have here is going to count towards my PvP damage. Right now, I have 45 human damage crystals. That's like what, 4 to 6 human damage crystals that are useless because I'm failing this DR check. And that's exactly what my crystal preset video was doing, except I was taking it to the extreme where I was like, oh, human damage is not factored in at all. It is factored in. If you did have 80 human damage in this build, you passed the DR check, and your human damage would in fact be factored in as part of your damage. But assuming that you don't know if you can pass a DR check, raw AP is always going to be more valuable, because no matter what their DR is, your raw AP is always going to count towards your PvP damage. If you get DR checked, your human damage does not. And that's what I wanted to clarify with today's video. And yeah, feel free to drop by and use this sheet. Again, one of the things I want to make sure that you guys understand is that PvP AP is the total AP plus human damage. So if you were to count PvP AP plus human damage, you'd be double counting, and that'd be incorrect. This 704 is 659 plus 45, okay? So don't double count. Don't double count. PvP AP is both human damage and AP added onto each other. And once you pass the DR check, it is a 1-to-1. When you fail the DR check, your human damage is 1-to-0, because it becomes 0. It zeroes out. It's not useful according to this test. And now all this stuff comes from the Reddit thread, PvP damage formula reversed and PvP damage calculator. Again, I'll link that in the description below. These are assumptions that he's made, and this is assuming 100% hit rate. But based on my tests and based on using full human damage crystals back in the day before this rework, I can safely say that based on my experience, this might be what's going on is I'm running 78 human damage, losing out on some raw AP that I could be running, and I'm failing DR checks left and right and not doing enough damage. And because I'm failing the DR checks, all the crystals that I have for human damage are basically counted as 0, and that's why my damage is so low in a lot of cases. Or it could just be Awakened Mystic kind of issue. But again, this is just the math for it. Definitely feel free to play around with these numbers by yourself. And then these are the numbers, the minimums. And let's say you wanted to gear check somebody. All you need is 672 DR. And you're failing this person who has 659 plus 45 human damage. If this person had 672 AP and like 10 human damage, they're failing the test, because they need a combination that is about 5% of their AP above the DR. So in this case, 672, 45, I would need 684 DR to DR check them, and then their human damage is zeroed. So yeah, so I hope this video clears up the misconception in my previous video. Again, most of the BDO math is assumption based, especially when it comes to damage numbers. Highly recommend looking at the full steady on this guy. I think it's pretty good. What I can say though is using this sheet was a little bit more in depth than I wanted to go, and so therefore for the PvP damage formula that I created, it's just more straight up in a vacuum what is required, what is not required, and how it works. So yeah, feel free to make a copy yourself and play around with your builds. But yeah, this has been Travis, aka Travesty. Appreciate all the feedback yesterday, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.